this
Perfect.
video. Welcome in
Thank you.
Breakthrough Coaching Group Interview Corner. Real people, real stories. Welcome.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Albana. Thank you for having me.
Can you please introduce yourself
Of
quickly?
course. Yeah, my name is David Vidales, and I'm from Stockholm, Sweden, 36 years old. And yeah, I've been doing some coaching for what is it now? Last 8 years, something like that. And in the beginning, the first couple of years, it was mostly about personal development and kind of life coaching. And I was testing different things, what worked for me. And then for the past couple of years, I've focused on helping course creators. So I help people create and sell their online courses. But personal development and coaching is always a big part of it. So yeah, grateful to be
Definitely.
here.
Welcome. So a bit of background how I know David. So I have signed up to his course. So he's an instructor for course creators. So he's helping me, he's instructing me, he's teaching me how to build up my own course. And thank you very much for that, David. I mean, I really appreciate it. And so during this activity, during this course, I have been observing you, how you act, how you teach people, what you're doing by your own self within your activity. And I have to say, I admire what you're doing, how you're doing it. And frankly speaking, I see you being so wise, so knowledgeable, so much helpful to a lot of people, and kind of having such a calm and balance in your life, in your way of acting, that I thought, who best than Vidales can be the showcase for stop whining and start thriving.
I love it. I
So,
love that name. Thank you so much for considering me. I appreciate that.
yeah, this is our group about David, my group that
Mm.
you are helping me to kind of build up. Stop whining, start thriving. And I definitely see you as a role model.
Yeah.
If a person would be doing it, is you. So, in such a context, I'd like to understand a bit about uh, what you're doing actually, why you're doing it. I mean, what's your why? What makes you wake up every morning and do what you do?
Awesome. Thank you. And also, I'm in the group now, and I see that we got some comment here. So hi to Maria Paz. She's saying, "Great to see you both. Great to see you, Maria Paz. Awesome." And I always love to interact with people. So hi, Charmaine. So if you have any questions, I'd love to reply to them either now live or afterwards. And also, thank you for the question, Alpan. I'd love to share. So my big why, it came in different stages. First, I realized what it was I wanted to achieve, and then my other big realization is how I was going to achieve it. But my first realization, what is life all about? What is the purpose of my life? What is it? Why do I get up in the morning, and what is it all about? It was um, it was a reaction to something quite big and dramatic that happened in my life. It was my one of my family members that committed suicide. So it was my uncle, someone I had worked with, and I had known him all my life, and he actually saved my life once. So I was about to drown, and he pulled me out. So it's someone that I liked a lot, and I had been quite close with. And when he killed himself, what happened there? It was a suicide, right? So it really, I think, I think that's something that has gone missing for us in our modern life. That we have become so distant from death. Like when people are close to dying, we put them in a home, and people aren't close to dying because we give them medicines, and people get so old. And it's not like in the old days, right? Like when you lived in a village and death was a natural part of life. Now it has become something we see in the movies or something like that, right? So when it came so close to me, and I saw how much pain it caused. I mean, it didn't cause pain to him. He was gone, but he left a mess in our family. and the people around him, and it wasn't easy, right? And I just saw how much pain you can cause when you hurt yourself. So in a moment of clarity, I saw that it has to be the other way around. If you help yourself and you really live life to the fullest, not just exist, but actually go for it, and just without limiting yourself, because that's what death is. It's just the ultimate limitation, right? So life is the ultimate unlimitation. It's the ultimate freedom, right? It's that you're here. We're actually in the game right now, right? So, but what happens when you play the game, when you go all out? What happens when you don't stop yourself, when you thrive without whining? and
Yeah.
that, and then, so that's the path I took. I just went all out, and when I did that, I saw how much joy I started to spread around, how much happiness that kind of exploded out from me. And I saw, so it was so obvious that if I kill myself, I'm going to hurt people, and if I live my life, I'm going to help people. So that was my big why, is to help others, so I can help myself so I can help others.
So you had a aha moment,
Yes,
and you said, by the way, I have a choice to make.
right.
So your relative did a choice that hurted people, and instead you said, by the way, I'm going to make the contrary choice.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful, David. The thing is that, I mean, fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know what to say now. Not all of us will have a relative
Right, right.
to get a
Mhm.
suicide. So, yeah, definitely, people do not have this kind of shaking moments in their life to have this drastic reflection, this aha moments. So what you see, what they doing, what the other people are doing that do not have this.
It's a really good question. You know, a part of me wants to say go to a hospital and just, or go to a cemetery and just really connect with death. I really think that until we fully realize that we are going to die, we can't appreciate that we are alive. That we are alive, it only means something if we know how limited it is, how fragile it is, how this is going to be gone in just a moment. This is so in a cosmic scale that you and I are talking right now, this is going to be over, right? And just seeing that clearly, not just seeing, but really understanding it, that gives you a little bit of a boost in the morning. It just makes you want to move, makes you want to do something.
Yeah,
Um, Whatever you can do to achieve that, go for it.
getting yeah. So there is a good saying from Stephen Covey, habit number 2: start with the end in mind. So definitely have an idea how you'd like to feel at your deathbed.
Yeah.
So how you'd like to live this life without regrets by living it fully. Now that you have made this choice to live your life fully, so tell me, David, you don't have any challenges in life?
No, it's the other way around. I think it's a deliberately throwing yourself where you are uncomfortable. It's deliberately understanding that the only way to grow is to do what you can't do. So you're actually all. I'm trying my absolute best to always keep failing. If I keep succeeding, it means I'm not at my limit, right? So I do my best.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So you all the time are trying to get out of your comfort zone.
Of course, there has to be some sort of balance here. Uh, I want to go to bed when I'm tired, etc. Uh, uh, are you reading the comments here as well? I think Charmaine is asking some things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, so I think a lot of motivational speakers and people, they are trying to portray this picture that they are always pushing their limits, etc., etc. I don't think it's either. I don't think it's neither healthy or productive. I think life is about a balance as well.
Yeah, so wonderful. So you're having challenges, you're even asking for them. Now, what is your reaction when you have challenges? So how you manage them, how you tackle them? Because frankly speaking, David, so in my coaching practice, I have to hear a lot of people, and indeed they are not asking for challenges consciously, I have to say. Maybe they are asking subconsciously, but the point is that when they face the challenges, they kind of are drawn, they sunk into despair, they feel depressive. I mean, even COVID, social isolation is kind of a reason for them to fall in despair. So when you have challenges, how do you tackle them? How you, what is your resilience? How you manage them?
Uh, I really think it has to do with having a, a special relationship with failure, to really actively look to fail. It's really, and understanding what failure is. Failure is doing your absolute best, but still falling short. And I really think that if we look at children, they are the ones that are the best at, they expand their vocabulary, their abilities, their skills. That's how they grow. They adopt this growth mindset where they don't care if they fall when they're trying to walk. They don't care if it's not perfect when they're drawing. um, there is more of a presence, and and so if I answer your question, how I tackle challenges is I put about 5 to 10% of my focus on the goal itself. It's crucial. You have to have a direction. You have to have a way to see if you are making progress or not. But all my focus is just right here, right now. Like, what am I doing? What I'm doing, is it working or not? And if it's not working, that's exciting. That's showing me that it has to be done differently and that there's something that I can't yet see. So it becomes a challenge. It's something fun, exciting. So failure is much more fun than success, because when you are succeeding, you already found the answer. It's kind of like building with Lego. The fun part is building it, not when it's done, right? When it's
Yeah.
done, it's next
Yeah.
one, right?
The
Yeah,
small victories to find the right
yeah,
cube.
yeah, yeah.
That's beautiful. And I've seen you, David. You're such a balanced person, such a grounded, such a centered person.
Thank
It
you.
looks like you never lose your mind out of these challenges. And now I get the secret, yeah? So you focus on the goal, on the target, rather than focusing on the problems out of control.
Mhm,
You
mhm.
just make peace of them, and the way you see challenge is kind of a good thing rather a bad
Like a
one,
game. it's
like a
it's like a
game.
game, yeah.
Beautiful, wonderful.
Mhm.
uh, Good to share for a lot of people around
Yeah,
who take it like a challenge dramatic, yeah. So I'd like to understand now, if you have been like this always, or how were you before? I mean, I just want you to kind of give us the contrast, because there are a lot of people that may relate to how you were before.
sure. And what about we answer some comments as well? We got some great comments here.
Yeah, so Charmaine, John as well, wonderful. Uh, yeah, so John is saying you really have to choose the right people to share your challenges. Oh, beautiful. I didn't have the best support network. I decided to take this on myself because my support system at times made things worse. I decided it was up to me to change my life and spend time with those who either understand or are willing to listen. I had a great support network when I went through cancer. I didn't really have one when I went through social anxiety and depression. Yeah, yeah, John. Yeah, that's true. Good that you had the good example in cancer case, but
Mm.
but What do you think, David? So to this point from John. So
Yeah,
he's
so
like,
it's interesting. I can kind of share my background. You asked me about my contrast, right? Um, so I was also suffering from social anxiety for a good 25, 26, maybe even 29 years of my life, and it was very. Speaking of start thriving, not whining, right? Uh, I had really bought into the whole victim mentality, the whole mentality that I was being subjected to life, that life was that I was at the
happening to you.
yeah, happening to me, not for me, and that I was a passive actor, that I had no control, that everything around me was in control of my well-being, and what actions I took and all that kind of stuff, right? So it unfortunately took a suicide in the family to wake me out of that. But before that, I could get like heart palpitations just going out and talking with a cashier or something like that, and I was avoiding
I can't believe it.
already. Yeah, so no, I was very overweight. I couldn't talk with people, let alone girls. That was completely out of this. Didn't have much friends. I didn't go out for many months. I was just sitting at home playing video games. It was just I had pretty much resigned my life. It was very I was just kind of existing, just waiting to die, pretty
Happening.
much. Yeah, it was really just
Whose
like
fault was that?
I wouldn't call it my whose fault, but it was my responsibility.
Yeah, I understand, but were
Yeah,
you by that time putting the finger, yes, it is because of, I don't
yes,
know,
yeah. So I was
this
I
and
was
that.
blaming the people that were bullying me in school, and people around me, and everyone, the society at large, life itself. I was pointing the finger at everyone and everything. It was too painful to kind of just acknowledge that this was within my control and that I could do something about it. So I just took the easy way out, and just yeah, I just lived my life like that.
Yeah, and so it is a huge contract, the way you kind of you let things go happening over you before, claiming and blaming all the time, playing the victim.
Yeah,
And now
exactly.
you own your life, yeah?
Well, I'll
You
try to.
you try to majority of time,
Yeah, yeah.
and you're doing it. So the results are all the contrary. You can talk to cashiers and any people like me
Yeah, exactly.
who look up to you. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 exactly.
So wonderful. So to John's point into support group, he was mentioning that you cannot do things alone. And is a good saying that every person is average of five people with whom they spend most of time together. What do you think about this? So
I think it might be different person to person. In a way, I did much of my when I decided to work on myself. On one level, it was a lot on my own, by myself. On the other hand, it was by reading books and listening to mentors, even though I wasn't working with them directly. So it was a lot of uh, people have helped me without knowing they have helped me, if that makes sense. You know. So uh, and of course, the way I went through this whole journey was to so what I did was I just started to talk with the cashier. I went up to a stranger on the street and started a conversation just to push myself out of my comfort zone, and all those hundreds or even thousands of people that got
yeah,
became a victim of my journey, they also should have their
yeah,
recognition.
happy victims. Yeah,
Yeah.
like me. So definitely, thank you very much, David, because they say average of five people, but definitely it doesn't need to be people. They
Yeah.
can be books, they can be movies, they can be whatever that inspires you and make your average
Yeah.
transfer to a better self. Yeah.
And then
Uh,
there's this saying that it takes a village to raise a child, and I think that's quite applicable to what was, because in a way to be in the victim mentality is to be a child. It really is. There's a part of us that is helpless and that needs help and that rather cries than to actually do it, to actually solve it, right? And that part is the child, right? So it takes a village to raise a child is a little bit of like it takes the whole environment to step out of that, and to you still have that part, but you also have another part, a more mature part.
Yeah, wonderful. So I'm looking to messages for Charmaine, and she's kind of relating to your story about suicide and things like this. So there are plenty of people there out there that have a lot of problems. The thing is that the world is very disconnected nowadays. People are kind of drawn within themselves, not asking for help, not associating themselves with the books, with movies, or people that could play a role model, people who had these aha moments transfer their own life. So, what would you suggest to these people? So, to people in my group, how they can react to life, to challenges, how they can wake up themselves.
I think a big part of me being stuck for so long was not that I didn't get the right advice or the right suggestions, because there were people around me, but because I was so deep looking inwards, I couldn't listen to anyone. I couldn't take it in. So at the end of the day, I don't really think it's about someone telling you something or giving you something. These people in your group, they need to be listened to. They need to be heard. So it's more about what have you gone through. I would rather sit down and have a conversation with a person like this that's in this pain, and just be there for them and just listen. And maybe by just listening and them, maybe their answers come through. Maybe they have the answers. Maybe I don't have the best answers for them. That's where I
Yeah.
would start.
Beautiful. Yeah, it is very much coincides with the coaching methodology I've trained
Yeah.
to practice. So everybody has the answers within, but they need to be waken up somehow.
Yeah.
And I hope it's not require the death or suicide, the suicidal moment to turn them up. So that's why we are here. So I'm fun that I want to learn from the other's pain. So there are two ways how a person can learn and can transform its own life is by going through pain, taking the long path and painful path and take the lessons, or listening somehow like some person like David, listen to their pain and kind of reflect on it. So that's why we are here. So I'd like to understand a bit more in detail. What are you doing today? How you came to this activity you're doing now?
Right. So I shared with you my first big realization that life is about thriving by helping others. That was my big why. My big how was realizing that I knew I wanted to help people. I wanted to thrive myself by helping other people. So when I looked at how can I make the biggest difference, how can I really help people? Well, it would obviously be that I should work with others that want to help more people. They have something valuable. They want to share that, but there's something standing in their way, something that I can help them with. So I really thought about that, and I looked at my own life as I was doing private coaching, etc. And I found myself hitting these limits all the time. the limits of not enough time, the limits of not enough reach, not enough impact, not enough income. Because I wasn't making enough money, I had to work at a job I didn't want to go to. I couldn't reach people. I was confined to my own local space. So there was limits all the time. So it was really a matter of putting two and two together and understanding that with this amazing new technology that we have the information highway system around the whole world. So there's actually no limit in reach anymore. We can reach whoever we want. We can automate, and therefore we can scale. We can replicate ourselves with these amazing softwares and systems. So now we are not limited in time anymore. And because of that, we can offer an immense amount of value, which now it doesn't limit our income anymore. So now we don't have to go to a job we don't like. We can actually work with whatever we want, which means that this gives us ultimately the freedom we're looking for, because we can work with whatever we want, with whoever we want, whenever we want, however we want. It's just completely limitless. So for me, it became it became that natural step that I should help people uh, with information products. Information is the key, because that's the one thing we can give away and still keep. So because we can copy information, so we can sell copies and keep the original, just keep selling and selling and selling, helping and helping and helping, and we still maintain it.
Yeah, interesting. So in our group, David, there are people who are entrepreneurs. I don't think majority, could be minority. And there are a lot of people who are working 9 to 5 for different corporates. So all the time, I'm an entrepreneur in spirit. I work for a corporate myself, but an entrepreneur within a corporate.
Yeah.
But I all the time I had this question in mind. So how does it come that some people take the courage, or kind of how you came up to this choice to be entrepreneur rather than uh, doing the standard that the society teach us do, go to university, get some master degree, go and work for a corporate. What's your choice about?
It's hard to say. I think it's I think it's partly genetic, but I also think some key things that happened in my life as I was growing up made such a big impact on me. Like I can remember when I was very small, and I was at a summer camp, and uh, I was so bored. All I wanted was to go home. And then one of the people working there said, "Hey, I'm gonna give you some responsibility. Come here to the store and sell some of the candy." And just being put in that position where I saw happy people, excited people, kids, coming up to me. They wanted what I had, and I gave them to it, and they threw the money at me and like, yeah, awesome, I'm so happy. And just that experience of making people so happy by selling the exact thing they wanted, and serving people like that.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and I think I didn't understand it at the time. I just think it went into my subconscious. And another time I was actually in high school, and I was always falling asleep in class because I found it so boring, and I was always struggling with my grades. And I had a teacher that was really, really good, and he could see my potential. So instead, many of the teachers said I was so bad, right? But he came up to me and he said that I was much, much better than what I was actually showing. So instead of kind of punishing me or making fun of me like many of the other teachers did, what he did was, I think it's the other way around for you, David. I think you're just not challenged enough. So I'm going to give you one of my classes, and you'll teach the other kids.
Wow.
So he just took me across the hall and put me in a class, and like all of a sudden I'm standing there, and I'm going to teach math to all these kids, and I did it, perfectly.
Wow.
And it just woke me up. It just so it's just such a small thing in a way, but it just really makes an impact on you and your personality. So I think a part of it is to just sit down and look back at your life and think about what have you gone through, and what does it mean, and how can that serve you now, right?
Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah, indeed. I like so much people who kind of put their creativity in action and in service. Because nowadays, what I see around, majority of people who work in a corporate, just they sell out their responsibility and they just take the salary and afterwards spend the time watching Netflix, playing Facebook, and things like this. So it's too much of consumerism around, I can see. So people tend to consume value rather than create value. And so, lucky you, you had a couple of people dragging you into creating value, taking
Yeah,
responsibility. You did it and you enjoyed the process. So, you repeat it over and over. So, you end up now creating value.
right.
Wonderful. Who are people, David, that you, alive or not alive, or books or movies, or whoever inspired you most, or mentors, coaches, share with us.
Oh, that's a good question. It used to be more in the past that I went through and I looked at a lot of content and followed, etc. Uh, in the beginning, I'm a guy called uh, Owen Cook, uh, and he's a very funny personality. He grew up with kind of like Asperger's, like very. He's a very weird person. He's like very far out there, and he was really struggling with how to socialize with people. So he built this whole company of how you socialize with other people, whether it's in dating or with work or and because his mind was so kind of nerdy, so he had to kind of mechanically figure it all out. So he's a very funny person, but for my mind and for me trying to figure out how do you socialize with people right in the beginning, right? It was so relatable and someone that I really, really admired and looked up to and followed a lot. And then in recent years, it's been more around course creation. Those are the people I follow. I want to learn and adopt and absorb. I really, really like Sam Ovens. I know you took his course as well.
Yeah,
He has a very special mind, right? Very,
genial.
very, yeah,
Genial.
very.
And he used to work for Vodafone
Oh yeah, yeah,
in,
exactly.
in
Yeah,
New Zealand. Yeah, at
yeah. No,
early.
I really like his content and how he. Many times when I look at his content, I feel that he's at another level. It's kind of like almost godlike. It's so good.
And he's so young. He's,
Yeah, yeah. It has a lot
he's
of good years.
yeah, he's a bit over 30
Yeah,
years old. And I have to say, your philosophy of teaching courses is very, very similar to Sam. I bought both of courses, Sam
yeah,
Ovens and yours.
yeah.
It is very, very similar.
Yeah, very contagious.
But
I
he's
think. Yeah,
he's more on philosophical way. So
yeah,
if you see his trainings, I mean, he take 1 hour, and
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
lots of philosophy. But I mean, it's very genial way of thinking.
Yeah, I love it. And I actually studied philosophy for 2.5 years. So I'm actively trying to keep it out of the course creation process because I want to keep it as down to earth as possible.
Simple,
But
pragmatic.
yeah,
I
and
can
then
see. Hmm.
I really, really like Dan Henry. I think, I mean, he has a bit of the playboy lifestyle. I'm not so keen about that, but I really like his teaching style. Um, and then some other people I follow that I really admire is Elon Musk. I love that mindset and uh, Jordan B. Peterson, his understanding of the human mind. I think it's regardless of what you think of his political views, etc. I think is I really love watching his classes. Do you know Jordan Peterson?
Yes,
Yeah,
he's psychologist.
yeah, exactly.
I've seen several
Clips.
YouTubes of
Yeah,
him. He's kind of a bit of nervous guy when he speaks.
yeah.
He's kind of have that nervosity. Why you're not listening to
Yeah,
me?
yeah, he gets angry easily. But the best content he has, the things you should people should look at, is his studies into stories and how they connect with the human mind. So if you look at his classes from like when he's doing dissecting Disney movies. So he's going through the Lion King and explaining why it attaches with our
Yeah.
psyche and what the symbols
Mm,
mean and everything. And
yeah.
that's just pure genius. So I love watching that.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Some of them I need to check out afterwards, after
Yeah,
the
go for it.
interview. So I cannot get enough of you, David. So now another question. What is your motto? So what is, I don't know, one good saying, one proverb that kind of drive most of your behaviors on top of your mind? Hmm.
Mm, so I think there are many actually. I think for me it really clicked that the abundant mindset is not about either or. So for 25 years, 29 years, I was always in my life, I was always making choices between this or that. So I can either go to university or I can get a job. I can either do what I like or what I have to. Always choosing, selecting, valuing, comparing, analyzing, thinking, all times. And then when I moved more into the abundant mindset, I understood that life is not either or, it's and. So if I wanna start blogging and I wanna learn how to cook, put those two things together. Start a
Synergy.
blog, yeah,
It's
just
about synergy. Yeah.
merge everything. If you are stuck in your life in an either or decision, like I should either continue at my corporate job or start my business, what if there is an and? What if you can go to your boss and say, hey, I would love to stay here, but I also want to start my own business? Is there any way you can support me in this? Could I work a few hours less? Could I get 2 weeks off so I don't have to quit my job, but I can still do what I want, right? So just living with that belief that there's always an and, it makes you see things that you don't usually see, and it makes you operate at a more abundant frequency where you start thinking that everything is possible. You just have to figure out how.
Beautiful. So on Wednesday, I'm going to have another interview with a lady who is a coach on money mindset. But
Yeah,
beautiful. Yeah, abundance and the way we approach business is very, very important, because it makes us take away the cover and see a lot of opportunities. So now, I know we can stay here for hours and talk, but I'd like you now to share with our audience what you're doing. So, what is your course about? So, if anybody would be really interested to kind of understand what you're really doing, how you are
awesome.
experiencing
Yeah,
your stop whining and start
that's
thriving.
fine.
How
Yeah,
are
yeah,
you thriving?
awesome. Thank you, Albana. Thank you first of all for the opportunity and for the interview and everything. So thank you, and for those of you that are typing in the comments, if you have any questions, I'll come in later and answer them, of course. So what I do now is I typically work with beginners and intermediates to create and sell their online courses, and I do that through my free Facebook community. So that's a great place to start, where you can connect with other instructors. Learn in a social environment. When it comes to my program, my course, the best way to do it is to start in my community, take a look at some of my free content, and then you can book a strategy call with me. That way we can see if we are a good match or not before I explain what the whole course is about. That's usually how I invite people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
indeed, there are some, maybe not too many, but few members for sure that would like to teach different topics in my group, and I would really recommend them
Mhm.
to keep an eye on you and turn their eyes on you and see if they can benefit from your expertise. Please, David, put at the end your point of contacts, your website, and your group address into the comments. So whoever would like to learn how to build up their expertise into a course and
Exactly.
make it available, it is possible. This is good. Why I wanted you to explain what you're doing, how you're thriving, because into my group I receive a lot of answers to the entry questions, and there are a lot of people that do not have that abundance mindset. They think that everything is taken from Jack Ma, from
Mm,
Jeff Bezos, from the guy of Tesla, and so there is no opportunity there. But I'm
mm,
just telling you, there are opportunities there. You just need to have that and mechanism. I can do this and that, and see opportunities like David did. So where is a will is a way. Yeah.
mm. Exactly.
And yeah, so perfect. Any last thing you'd like to share that I didn't ask for?
No, just again, Albana, thank you so much for inviting me to your community, and I love how it's developing, and it's exciting to see, and what you're doing is so important also, and for everyone that is in the group, you're here for a reason to learn and to grow. So you are in the right place. Albana has the heart in the right place. So thank you so much, Albana.
Thank you very much, David, for
Thank you.
joining us today, and best of luck in
Thank
into
you.
thriving.
You too.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.